Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rainy Toon Talk. And tonight we're joined by Darren Williams. Darren, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm actually over the moon that we actually got a short night we're on because I've had to come out that heat. I've been strawberry picking in this massive open field for an hour and a half, so I'm as red as the strawberries today. Like it's been a warm one.
Mate, honestly, I've been out there all day. The little lads had a tournament up in Redcar, and literally, honestly, I thought because I'm coming on your talk, and obviously it's mainly Toon. I thought I won't put the my Sunderland shirt on, but realistically, I think I have put my Sunderland shirt for the suntan.
Brilliant. And Stephen as well. Thank you, Stephen, for coming along as well. Got a lot of questions tonight. I think we're both quite excited about this one because, like you say, we're going to start to get a lot more former players on now because we've kind of all said the North East, it's massive for everybody. To a lot of people, that's what they look forward to. They go to work all week to go and watch the football, and they kind of live and die by that, don't they? So it's really good to get a lot of former the North East players on as well to go through that. But Stephen's going to start with a few early questions, Darren, with getting the early days at the York and into Sunderland as well.
Yeah.
Moving when you first went into the game, I think you signed for York City, didn't you? I think it was the intermediate side or something like that. And I know you scored it.
Yeah, I started off at York. Basically, obviously, I done my apprenticeship there under Ricky Sprazer, which was eventful because Ricky was so strict, but he was brilliant in all honesty. Fantastic coach, but used to drag you back down to earth as quickly as possible. I remember making my debut for the first team, and I was still part of the youth team at the time. It was Christmas time, it was Boxing Day, and I came on. We won the game. I think it was something like 5-0 or 5-1 at home. So I've gone in the dressing room at the end to get changed, and I'm taking my socks off, my shorts, and that. And Ricky comes in. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just going to get a shower, Rick." I said, "I've just finished the game." And that he went, "You're not like." I went, "Why?" He went, "You need to go and clean the away dressing room." I went, "Rick, man, I just want to have a shower." He went, "No." He said, "Get your stuff on." So I put all my stuff back on, right? And he did it for one reason and one reason only, right? Because one of the players from the away team had I don't know what's the language like on here.
That's good. Go for it.
So the one of the away team had a big shit in the middle of the shower and just left it. And Ricky had seen it, and he first thought, "I'm going to go and get Daz to clean it up." I was like, "Cheers, Rick."
Oh, that's brilliant! I love it. What was it like making your professional debut then, Darren? What was going through your head at that time?
Well, I mean, obviously you're excited to get on the pitch. It's like obviously, for the first team, these are the guys that you're washing their kit every day. I mean, obviously it's all changed now. They don't wash the kits and stuff and clean boots and that. But I was washing the kits. I was cleaning a lad called Andy Macmillan's boots and Nigel Pepper's. And obviously going on the field, with them guys was brilliant. It was just excitement of getting on, and it was like I say, it was Boxing Day. And obviously, it was quite a big crowd, as you do. Everyone gets a canny crowd on Boxing Day. It was just excitement to get on, really. I just wanted to get out there and obviously, show what I could do, type of thing.
Yeah. So I think it keeps you grounded a bit when you're having to do, like you say, like cleaning out the changing rooms and stuff like that, isn't it?
Oh, massively. Yeah. I mean, I've been when we used to live around the corner at the digs. Obviously, it was a big 3-story house, and all the YT lads used to live there, and Ricky wouldn't bat an eyelid, just ringing me up at 6 o'clock and saying, "Right, get yourself around the club and go and change the wash over into the dryer because it needs to be dry tomorrow, or get it out the dryer and fold it up. It needs to be ready for in the morning." 6 o'clock, when I was just about having my tea, and he used to do it on regular occasions, but I why, I can't got why, do you know what I mean? And I appreciate it for that because it kind of kept me grounded, and I was never one to get carried away with with where I was playing at or what I was doing. I knew that you earn the right to be there, and and when you're there, you're respectful to others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes a long way, doesn't it? Speaking about York, I think you played Man United in the League Cup. I think it's won the game 3-0, I believe.
It was. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, obviously going to Old Trafford, as a York City player, bottom league, you're going, up against the the Premier League side, the Champions League side, of Man United, and although obviously they didn't feel the fully strongest side in the first leg, but it was still, it was still packed with names, with your Giggses and your Lee Sharps and and people like that, your McClares and that, and it was the team talk before the game with Alan Little, was basically go and enjoy yourselves. Nobody's expecting anything. Nobody expects anything of you. Just go and enjoy yourselves. And we worked our socks off. And the one thing we were, if anything, we were a hard working side and we'd work hard for each other. And obviously it paid dividends on the night. Coming away with a 3-0 aggregate win. Obviously waiting for the second leg at York. But to get a standing ovation off the Man United fans at Old Trafford was immense. It was that gives you something back. The fact that all the hard work you put into the game, you get the appreciation.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
There's something that you can always stays with you as well, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean 100%. I mean, these are the guys. I was up against these guys, and these are the guys I was being watching on telly. Week in, week out. Even when I was in a pro at York, I was still watching these guys on the Premier League, playing week in, week out, in the Champions League, playing week in, week out. And that's like you say, that's sticks with you, and that's something. That's it gives you something to aim for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, massively, yeah,
big time. Right, moving on to the old enemy you signed for Sunderland in '96. I think the fee was around 50,000 or something like that. As a player,
50 grand,
did that price tag play on your mind?
You wouldn't get a penny.
You wouldn't,
now, would you?
Yeah, true. Did that price tag play on your mind a little bit? Because obviously now you're getting players now they're going for like 50 to 100 million and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, did that kind of have an impact on how you felt?
I think at the time, in all honesty, it was a massive jump for me. Going from the bottom league to the Premier League. I think they had built in incentives. If I played for England, if I played so many games, extra York would get obviously a bit more money. But in all honesty, it was just the excitement. I mean, at the time, I'd fell out with the manager at York, and I fell out with the chairman at York, was a guy called Douglas Craig at the time. What had happened is we all got offered the same contracts, and bearing in mind I was kind of like a youth player, but I played in the first team, 13 times. I've been on the bench numerous times, and I got offered the same money as everybody else. It was like a 10, and I literally, I said I think I deserve a little bit more, and they threw like 10 quid at me, and I'm thinking, well, £10, I appreciate money, and I always will do appreciate money. I've never been one to chase money, but I just felt that, I needed it. I'd probably deserved a little bit more for what I'd done. So I fell out with them, and I had to train on my own. It was weird because they were giving me a couple of balls and sending me on the furthest part of the field. I couldn't train with the youth. That's how bad it was. I was like, jumped in the corner of the way. So I was driving to work one day, and my phone went, and I never even thought. Now I thought it was the lads at training winding me up because I was driving in on my own, because I thought I can't car share with anybody because they keep me back, or or the lads need to get off it. So I was traveling on my own. So I picked the phone up and I'm like, "Hello," and he went, "Hey, it's Paul Bracewell from Sunderland," and I went, "Fuck off, lad." So I went, "Whoever this is," I went, "I'm literally 20 minutes away." I said, "I'm going to come in there and knock you out." Honestly. I put the phone down, and then about 5 minutes later, my mum, she went, "Daz, make sure you got your phone on. Paul Bracewell's going to ring you." I was like, "Oh, shit."
Oh, no way.
Fortunately enough, I rang him straight back, and he picked the phone up and he went, "It's a good job I'm a patient man." And I said, "I'm really sorry." I thought that's winding me up. Honestly, it was mental. So I span round on the A19 because they wanted me to play in a game. Up in Sunderland, a bit of a trial game type of thing. So I shot round. I ring me mum. I says, "Mum, I've got no boots, got no shin pads." Bear in mind, I'm still on the YDS money. I said, "I've got no boots, no shin pads." She went, "Right, we'll go and get you some, and then shoot up there." So I shoot up to the game, and I get to the dressing room. There's like Niall Quinn and everybody in there, and I'm thinking, "Wow, I'm watching these guys on the telly, man. It's unbelievable." And Bobby Saxon comes in. "Hey, your son, loveliest man, absolute loveliest man." Going, "Hey, son, you all right?" This, that, and the other. He said, Right, he said, you're going to play in midfield today, Darren. And I went, right, okay. So Bobby was writing the names on the board, and I recognised all the names apart from one. One next to me, and I was thinking, he went Reed, and I was thinking, no, Reed? Who the hell's Reed? So I couldn't, honestly, I racked my brains. I was thinking, there's no player in the squad called Reed. I've had a look. So then Peter Reed comes in, and he sits next to me, and he went, slaps me on the leg, went, you all right, son? I went, uh-huh. And he went, you're playing in there with me today. I went, are you winding me up? No, he went, I'll tell you what I want you to do. He went, I want you to run about. He went, you get the ball and just give it to me. I went, I know worries about that. Got myself a contract, didn't I?
Oh, absolutely. What was he like as a lad playing alongside? And obviously, I think he managed you at one point as well, didn't he? What was he like?
Oh, he was brilliant. I mean, obviously, he was manager there at the time. You know,
yeah.
Like, that's why I couldn't fathom out who it was. You know, I was thinking, well, there's no reason. So I just couldn't work out who it was. And obviously, you know, when I found out it was him, you know, it was just like, wow. You know, obviously, you know him obviously from the telly, but you know, obviously, of his career and his past, and obviously playing for England, etc. But it was brilliant. You know, he was technically still great. But obviously, you know, his legs had gone a little bit and he couldn't get about, and that's why he wanted me to run around.
Yeah, I work for him. Quality. You made over 250 appearances, I believe, for Sunderland. Playing in that thing was over in the Premier League. What was it like playing in the Premier League week in, week out? Being one of the best leagues in the world.
Like I said, I mean, it was just, you know, it was amazing. You know, you're playing up against, you know, like I say, lads you've been watching on the telly for the past God knows how many months, you know, and it's to actually get to that level. You know, I remember, obviously, I came on at Arsenal to make my debut. Unfortunately, Steve Agnew broke his wrist, which wasn't great. Obviously, you never want to come on for somebody, you know, who's got themselves injured. You know, this, that, and the other. And obviously, I travelled in with Steve as well. You know, a great bloke. So yeah, it was obviously I was gutted for him on that side of things, but you know, I thought to myself, you know, this is your opportunity, you know, to get on there, you know, playing at Highbury, you know, against Arsenal, you know, fantastic, and I just loved it. I think the added bonus for me was I kept myself so fit, you know, that I was at, you know, a peak of fitness that I could maintain and keep up with it, you know, anybody, you know, and I think that was you know, the bottom. As much as obviously, you know, I probably wasn't as gifted as much as, you know, some people on the ball type of thing. You know, obviously, you know, I was fit as a fiddle, and obviously I could, you know, I'm not saying I was, you know, not great on the ball because I had probably put myself down there, but obviously I wasn't as gifted, you know, as some of the top players. But you know, when you work rate and your attitude and that is up to that level, you know, then obviously you know you can compete with anybody.
Yeah. I forgot to ask you a bit earlier on as we started there. Have you always, I know you were a centre half, has that always been your position? Obviously, I know you mentioned you played in midfield with Peter Reed in like a trial game thing. Has that always been your position?
No, I started off as a centre mid. I ended up getting shoved to the right hand side for a bit, and then obviously it was funny how it came about actually, because I remember when I went to Sunderland, obviously I was a midfielder. I played wide a little bit. I played centre a little bit, and then we kind of started the season. We struggled at the start of the season, and then Bobby Saxon pulled me when Jody Craddock joined the team. And he just said, "Have you ever played centre half?" And I went, "Aye, Bobby. I was about 10-year-old." And he just he went, "Right, okay, we're gonna play you there on Saturday." I went, "All right, okay."
No,
It was just like, you know, it was bizarre. It just came out of nowhere, you know. But I think there were, you know, Bobby, he was really clever, you know, and I always say that you know, he knew his players and knew what, you know, he knew me and Jody got on really well as mates. You know, we were friends off the field, you know, obviously training all the time. You know, we lived around the corner from each other, so I think he knew we had that type of connection. I think obviously, you know, between him and Peter, you know, they just decided that, you know, it was probably a risk, but you know, it was kind of a risk that obviously, you know, paid off for them really.
Yeah, brilliant, isn't it? Have you got any stories for the fans that are watching tonight from your time at Sunderland in particular? I think we've got a few Sunderland fans watching.
I mean, you know, we've had some right occasions. You know, obviously, you know, back then it was a massive drinking culture. You know, you 4 or 5 days away training, you know, would also include going out in an evening. You know, and obviously, and you know, in all fairness, they were great like that. You know, the manager and Sacco and that. So long as you turned up at training the next day and you worked your hardest, you put your workload in, you know, and you weren't an embarrassment in training. Then, you know, you could kind of go out and enjoy your evening, you know, and, which we did many a times. But there was occasions, you know, where we've been out. I remember we went out one time, and then we were called in the next day for training, unaware that we were going to get called in, and we all turned up, and we were doing shot, crossing and shooting the drill, and somebody rolled the ball like right down the line, and Mickey was pelting it down the line, you know. Mickey obviously paced the burn like type of thing, but the ball was like traveling at such a speed, and by the time he got the swing for it, he missed the ball and just kept going. He just went back on the floor, you know. It was just, honestly, it was unbelievable. And, you know, you just couldn't continue the session rolling about on the floor, but it was so funny the way it was done. But like I say, I think the pace of the ball was just too much, but Mickey just didn't give it up, and he just kept running and running. But nah, I mean, we've had some fantastic times, like. But like I say, you know, as much as obviously you enjoyed your evening, you know, you had to be training the next day and get it out. And that was a massive part of it. But not only that, you know, it brought players together, and it made, you know, built a team spirit that, you know, I haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
That's huge. I remember just a story. We were training at New College, Darren once, and Kevin Ball was always supposed to come in and give us a coaching session, and it was supposed to be early one Tuesday or Wednesday morning, but the night before, Sunderland played Fulham in the rearranged game that got called off. You remember when it was hailstoning? And obviously Sunderland in the game that got rearranged, the one I think was the first game in so many games. And I remember Kevin Ball ringing our manager at the time. He said, "Hey mate, I'll have to come in the afternoon." When he came in, he just went, "Oh, I've got a starting headache." Like, but he says it was worth it. It's just good, like, just get the group of lads together sometimes like that, isn't it? Just let your hairs down a bit.
But you know what? You don't know how far it goes. That, you know, in all honesty, you know, you can spend all the money in the world on a team, but you know, your team spirit and your team bonding, you know, is massive. You know, it's a massive part of the game. That, you know, like when you look back, you know, at the successful times that we had of finishing 7th, twice, you know, just missing out on the European places.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the team; it was built on nothing really. You know, there wasn't a lot of money spent, but I think they always had an idea of what they wanted and who they wanted, and they would pick specific players for specific positions. You know, and you didn't have to be the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But they made a jigsaw. I always class it as the jigsaw puzzle, and they found the pieces that fit. You know, and that was part and parcel of our success, really.
Yeah. Great. And some of you obviously playing for Sunderland. What would you say was your best moment at Sunderland?
What was what, sorry?
What would you say was your best moment at Sunderland?
Breaking up a little bit there, mate. Sorry, pal. I keep missing it.
Sorry. What would you say was your best moment at Sunderland?
The best game?
Yeah, your best moment, just like your best time in general.
Best moment, you know, in all honesty, weirdly enough, it'll be the playoff final. You know, a lot of people just think, well, why is the playoff final? You know, you got beat, you didn't get promoted, but that was a massive learning curve for us. I mean, we had such a young side, you know, and obviously we had a mixture of obviously the older players as well. But we learned so much, and as much as it was disappointing, you know, we wanted to get promoted. I think it would have been the worst thing for us. I think we would have come straight back down, in all honesty. And I think we learned that second year, and I think, you know, Niall Quinn touched on it, you know, after the game. He touched on it in the dressing room with those lads, and, you know, he said we'll learn a lot from it, and we'll come back a lot stronger, and not in a big headed way or anything, or a cocky way. You know, we'll walk next year. You did, you know, not an argue or anything like that. You know, it was done in the right manner, and, you know, we knew that we'd learn a lot, and then, you know, we would benefit the season after.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, with some of them players that you mentioned, obviously Phillips, Quinn, Ark, and them type of players, who would you say was the best player that you played with at Sunderland?
I mean, obviously, I had a fantastic partnership with Jody Craddock, obviously being at centre half. You know, we had some fantastic games together. You know, beating 4-0 up at half time was just, you know, it was unbelievable. You know, we thought that, you know, going into the game, you know, bearing in mind, you know, we had a bit of a depleted squad at the time as well. A few people suspended, etc. I think I played at Old Trafford with Claudio Reyna in centre midfield.
Right,
you know, we probably between us had, you know, probably best games. And I always remember coming out and even some of the Man United fans pulling us and saying, "Oh, do you know what? It was an absolutely fantastic game you two had in there." And as much as we didn't win the game, you know, it was nice to hear the other fans saying, you know, commenting on it, because, you know, you're playing up against Kane and Scholes in there, you know, they're not players to be, like, you know, brushed away. They're fantastic talents. But yeah, you know, I come away from the game as much as obviously disappointed that we lost, but also, you know, upbeat about obviously my performance.
No, that's great. And a few fans have asked as well, obviously with a lot of the Newcastle fans that we have in the group, what's it like playing at St James Park, and what's the atmosphere like coming out as a Sunderland player onto the pitch?
You broke up a bit there, mate. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, as a Newcastle fan, what's it like as a Sunderland player coming out onto that pitch at St James's Park? What's the atmosphere like?
I keep losing you, mate. The signal. I don't know whether it's your signal. It could be my signal.
We're just saying, with when you're coming out with St James's Park as a Sunderland player, what's that atmosphere like?
Oh right, yeah, I've got that now. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I remember travelling to St James's. We'd stayed over the night before in Seaburn. You know, we obviously had the evening meal. We all stayed together, and then we got the bus obviously from Sunderland. Obviously, all the fans were outside the hotel, and you know, it was brilliant. And then we were going, obviously getting close to St James's, and obviously it was just like, you know, you could see all the crowd building up, and you could hear all the boos coming through the window. And in all fairness, fortunately for us, Peter Reid got off the bus first because he took most of the fans. It was just a massive sound of booing, and then obviously you know the usual Peter Reid's, you know, Monkey Heed and all that palaver. And unfortunately, he kind of took the shine off us, and we managed to just get in without any trouble whatsoever. But when obviously you're coming out, you know, at St James's, you know, I always say about Sunderland, you know, the noise is deafening, you know, but obviously the boos were deafening for us. But I think, you know, personally myself, you know, I can only obviously speak myself, not other players. Is, you know, that just gets me ready for the game. You know, it just builds me up. You know, and I'm ready to go. So, in all honesty, as much as obviously some people might be affected by it, I was the other way and kind of just got me geared up for the game. You know, and it got that adrenaline going, and you know, and don't get, they're always fantastic games. And let's be honest, you know, even if it's a 1-0 or a 0, it's always a fantastic game because there's always crunching tackles going in. I mean, probably not so much nowadays because, I mean, obviously we haven't played each other for a long time, being the distances in the league, etc. But it's just the fact that you kind of go by you did now, like you could before. You know, it's just, you know, if you went in now like that, you'd probably get 6 months inside, wouldn't you?
You would, like, you would.
They're still rolling around the floor, some of the players now. But another good moment as well, obviously, Bourne and Borough. What was it like scoring the goal against Middlesbrough in the Weir Tees derby?
Yeah, that went down like a lead balloon. It was, it was weird because obviously my family, most of my family are from Middlesbrough, and obviously they're all Middlesbrough fans, and I was obviously keen to do well. I was at Middlesbrough when I was younger, but chose to leave to go to York. I felt more comfortable at York in all sense.
Yeah.
There was too many lads at the time. I just thought I may get overlooked and I may not get my opportunity as early as I wanted. So going to Riverside, obviously I was buzzing, and during the warm-up I was getting absolutely slated by all the fans. They were calling us they were calling me family and everything. It was just, honestly, it was barbaric. I thought I hadn't even done anything yet, like you having a go at me. But it was weird. It was weird because we spent all week, and I obviously working on what we, how we were going to play. Obviously, and I had the job of man marking Janino. Man marking Janino. Obviously, when we get the ball, obviously, you have a free roll. Just do what you want. Gan where you want, do what you want. But as soon as we lose possession, make sure you pick the little fella up. So I was like, no worries. So anyway, so in the dressing room, like I say, Bobby Sachs is always the one who writes the team up on the board. And he's putting the Middlesbrough team up on the board. So Peter Reid stood in front of us and he's like, right, anybody got any questions from what we've worked on this week? And I seen him sat there writing that team up. I put my hand up and went, I'm a gaffer. And he went, for fuck's sake, does he? Went, we've worked on it all week. And I went, but I'm Martin Janine. And he went, yeah, you're Martin Janine, your dad's. How difficult is that? I went, so do you want me to sit next to him on the bench or shall I just run around on the pitch? He turned around and looked at the board. He went, for fuck's sake. So the first I had a free roll more or less. So that's why I ended up in the box. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been there. I would have been looking after the little fella.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, that, like.
And obviously, to score the goal was brilliant. I'm not a prolific goal scorer. I don't score week in, week out. But when I scored, I just thought, all that shit I've took in the warm-up, and you're getting some back here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought about was cupping my ears. And you know, when you finish cupping your ears, I'm thinking, that's probably not a good thing to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's class, that. I mean, one game we've got to ask you about, obviously the Charlton penalty game, and I just remember watching the game, and it was like today, the heat. Obviously, I just remember wearing them gold shirts, and they just look so heavy. And I've always mentioned, heard players talk about it. What was that game like?
Mate, it was unbelievable day. I mean, you know, I know it sounds like a little bit cheesy, but the fans were unbelievable, mate. Honestly, when coming out the tunnel, it was just you couldn't hear yourself. You know, if I was talking in my head, I wouldn't have been able to hear it. Do you know what I mean? It was just mental. Yeah. But them gold shirts, mate, it was like wearing a suit of armour. It had it in the lining. It was like 108 pitch side, and it had it in the lining. I was sweating before I even got out. It was honestly, it was ridiculous. But it felt so heavy as well. You know what I mean? Like when you were sweating, it was just getting heavier and heavier. But I mean, that aside, I mean, you know, it's obviously no excuse, but it was just an unbelievable game, mate. I mean, you know, we could have been 6 up, it would have been 6-6. They could have been 6 up, it would have finished 6-6. Yeah. It was one of those days, and I always remember it was like, it's a funny moment, but it isn't a funny moment when you think about it. It's like when they got the corner, and I seen like Lionel Perez run past me, like to go and try and collect it, and I went to Jody. I went, he isn't that. I went, he's not getting it. and next thing I just was like, I went to Jody. I went, I told you. It's like, he told you he was getting it. But it was just, you know, when you just see something, I'm thinking, what have you actually seen? Because he's not going to get there. He's got no way he was getting there. But you know, I mean, we all do. You know, I suppose you get something in your head and you just go and do it. You know, and it's a snap reaction. But you know, it was an unbelievable day. Like I say, obviously the penalties. You know, penalties are penalties. Obviously, you know, nobody liked Mickey Gray for a while. You know, obviously, you know, unfortunately for Mickey, obviously he was the one that unfortunately missed the penalty. But yeah, I mean, he come back stronger. You know, although he went missing for 2 weeks and we couldn't find him, but he came back a lot stronger and a lot better player. You know, from you know, and like I say, we learned a lot from that.
Yeah, I always remember watching Mickey Gray was on the Under the Kosh podcast, and they're all asking about that same game. And the first thing he mentioned was the shirt. He just says, "Forget about the game. We need to talk about these shirts first." And he just said they were like lead weight. It was unbelievable.
Mate,
honestly, that was a good one as well.
Scary, mate. I mean, who makes a jersey like that and puts it in the lining and wears it in 108 degrees? You know, it was absolutely mental. You felt you were actually like that, trying to get breath. Do you know what I mean? I was looking around for my sword.
Brilliant. We've got about 15 minutes left. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Stephen, back to yourself. We'll go for a couple of questions about after the kind of Sunderland, then we'll get a couple of questions before we finish off as well there. So back to Stephen.
All right. After Sunderland, I think you moved down to Cardiff on loan initially, didn't you, in 2004, I believe? What was it like playing for Cardiff? Was it Ninian Park, I think was the ground at the time? What was that like?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I enjoyed my time at Cardiff. It's a little bit disappointing, really, because you know, I had another year. You know, it didn't particularly work out great. They were trying to ask me to take half a pay cut. You know, and I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm living away from home. You know, I'm going to half my money. As much as I was never obviously money orientated, I didn't chase. You know, I wasn't demanding, saying, "Well, I want this, I want that," type of thing.
Yeah.
I just thought, you know, to cut half my wages, you know, it made no sense. I might as well move home and play for a club close by. So so that was a cut short. But in all honesty, I won't mention his name, but I had an agent at the time, and he messed a massive deal up for me to go to Hull. Hull obviously were a couple of leagues below at the time, but obviously they were coming through that transition of whether they bounced year in year out and got themselves in the Premier League. And obviously my contract that they offered me would have gone into the Premier League. It was slightly more than I was on at Sunderland. Bearing in mind it was leagues below. There was I would have incurred obviously a signing on fee. And they were willing to up things and this, that, and the other, but this agent just completely screwed the deal for me, which I was very, very, disappointed with. It was a 3.5-year deal. And then lo and behold, he messed it all up for me. And I ended up, signing at Ninian Park to the end of the season, with a possible, year extension. To destroy somebody's opportunity like that, from his own words as well. It was, I was disappointed because I knew Peter Taylor and I got on really well with him because I've been with the 21s and the B team with Peter. Fantastic bloke. And for him to say something on my behalf that I hadn't said, he was telling Peter Taylor that I'd said that was a horrendous money and I wouldn't go there, this, that, and the other. And I was just about like, well, do you know what I mean? I haven't said that. And I rang Peter and I spoke to him, but at that point, the chairman had decided that they were going to go for somebody else, which was disappointing for me because I would have signed for Hull, and I would have gone there, and I would have enjoyed working under Peter Taylor. But for an agent to really screw that deal up, but not only that, get paid for a loan deal that he shouldn't have been paid for, and then ask me for money as well. I was a bit, well, I'm not paying you because I know you've already been paid. So it was disappointing from that point of view. But like my time at Cardiff, I loved it. I got on really well with a lot of the lads there. Graham Kavanagh, Andy Campbell, Lee Bullock. To name a few. Danny Gabardon. The players like that. At the club, were fantastic, and we got on really well. But obviously, it was a bit of a short time there, really.
Again with Cardiff, how did the whole conversation come about with that then? Were you not getting that permanent deal? Was it through carry on with the agent and stuff? When Cardiff decided they weren't, I think because you were going to.
I was disappointed with the agent, at the end of the day, and I messed that deal up, and then I didn't carry on with an agent, and I just done things myself because I thought, I'll get. I don't want him making me out to be a horrible person, and being disrespectful to people because that's not the way I am. If Hull had offered me less than I was on at Sunderland, I wouldn't have been disrespectful and said, that's horrendous, I'm not going to sign. I would have just said, unfortunately, I'm looking for a bit more, or unfortunately, I can't drop down, that much at this moment in time, type of thing. I'd have been more respectful about it, not just saying, that's horrendous.
It could almost tarnish your reputation with things like that, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? You've built up your good name within the sport there.
Totally, and I said, I said to Peter Taylor at the time, I said, you know me better than that. I said, I wouldn't be disrespectful like that. I said, I'm a little bit disappointed that you would think I would say something like that. But obviously, when you're being told that by somebody, by an agent, obviously you're going to think, and it was more so. I think the chairman more so took a little hurt to it. Rather than Peter, because I think Peter would have understood that out. I wouldn't come out with words like
that. Yeah. Moving on from Cardiff City, I believe you moved back up to the North East by signing for Hartlepool. What was that feeling like coming back to the North East to play your football? Obviously, I know in that time there was relegation followed by a bit of promotion there as well. What were your emotions at that time playing for Hartlepool, being back in the region?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously, Hartlepool was, literally down the road for me. I was playing, obviously, with a lot of players, obviously, I'd played with previously. Like Michael Proctor, at Sunderland. But then went to Hartlepool as well. The Michael Nelson and people like that. And it was good times. We all got on really well. We were all really close. We all knew each other. We had some good times at Hartlepool. Unfortunately, let's say, I'd done a couple of years there. And like you say, unfortunately, we had a disappointment of of them being relegated. Obviously, getting promotion as well, was fantastic.
Yeah. Moving on a bit more now, Darren. You had also, I think you signed for Dundee. I believe Alex Ray was the manager at the time. We also had a stint at Brad as well. Have you got any specific memories from your days down there and up at Dundee?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed. It was weird enough because I was toying between going into part time. Because I was
nice.
I was at probably stage where I was kind of coming down in my career. I was blessed that I didn't have injuries, which was great. But Alex, I picked the phone up, and it was literally the week they were starting, and he just said, "Oh, he said, do you fancy coming up here and playing?" I said, "Well, I'll be honest with you, Al. I said, I've not really done anything. I said, like, I've just had the summer off when I've been away. I said, the last 6 months I've literally done nothing." And he went, "Oh," he said, "Oh, well, just come up." He said, "And see how you go," type of thing. So I said, "All right, nobody." So I said, he said, "I'll come up on Thursday." He said, "We're traveling on Friday," and I went, "What do you mean we're traveling on Friday?" He was like, "Well, you sign on Thursday." He said, "You travel with the lads on Friday." So I'm thinking, surely you can't be thinking he's going to put me in the team. So anyway, so I get up there, signs, gives me tracksuit and all that palavers, and bus is leaving at so and so time tomorrow. So first game away, and he's reading the team out. Right, as you're playing centre half, I'm like, I looked, I'm thinking, Ali, I'm done that for 6 months, mate. Right, we won the game. We took the bonus. Like, I think if we'd have got big, he'd been on my case. But I mean, he was brilliant, Alex, and we started the season off extremely well, and we were doing really well. But we got a spate of injuries. We're all first team players, and he literally lost half the first team. And then out of nowhere, we got obviously just, I think, mid-table, and the directors pulled us in and said, "Oh, we've sacked Alex." And I was like, "Eh?" I was like, he went, "Has anybody got anything to say?" And I said, "I've got fucking something to say, like." And he was like, "Well, what's up?" I said, "You do know how many first team lads are missing, don't you?" I said, "I'm out." I said, as well as another 5 others." I was like, we were second in the table. I went, until then.
No way.
I went, you're not going to give the chance to get people back from injury. I said, and you've sacked him. I said, I'm not being funny. I said, I'm absolutely disgusting. I said, it's disgraceful. Yeah. And he went, "Oh, well, you know what you're saying, this and the other." I don't think you do appreciate it. I said, he's done some hard work in the summer getting the team together. I said, that's started off extremely well. I says, and because he's lost some players, I went, now you booted him out. I went, that's embarrassing. And honestly, I was gutted for Alex. I was absolutely gutted for him. I stood up. I stood up for him. And I always would. Because he was a great lad, great player. When I was on he was fantastic. He'd help you out. He'd look after you. He was like Kevin Ball. They were great lads.
Yeah.
They took you under the wing. They looked after you. And they were fantastic. For managers to be treated like that under the circumstances, I just think it was disgraceful.
Just goes on too much, doesn't it? Like you say, well, you mentioned agents, managers. It just seems to all get treated the same. It's not good. I mean, I know we've only got a few minutes left, but I would love to just speak about your Whitby time. I mean, was that a good manager? Like you say, mentioned about chairmen, starting managers. What was your time in management like at Whitby? Did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved.
Yeah, he did really well.
It was a great 4 years. It was weird because obviously I only went there because one of my mates, Mark Robinson, he played, and he said, "Oh, I'll come along." He said, "Do you want to come and play, Des?" And I said, "I'll come along and play." And I enjoyed it playing. Weirdly enough, the manager got the sack, and I didn't even put in for the job. And the players had gone to the chairman and said, "Oh, why don't you let us take over at the end of the season?" And he was like,
class. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so he pulled me on the Monday at training, and he was like, "The lads want you to manage the team." I went, "What?" I was like, I'm like, wasn't he looking to manage? He said, "Would you take the job?" I went, "I'll give it a go." Like, I went, I said, "No worries." Yeah. So anyway, so he went to me. Honestly, the first meeting I actually had with him when I signed, obviously as a manager, he went, "So we've planned to get relegated." I went, "Mate," I know we're 13 points adrift.
Plan to get relegated.
Like, well, it was November and we were 13 points adrift. So in his head, we were knackered. Do you know what I mean? I went, went, give me a chance, mate. I said, Jesus Christ, I haven't even done a game yet. So I'm honestly getting some great players, you know, Jamie Clark, you know, Jeff Smith, you know, who was at Bolton, you know, and I brought in some great lads who I could trust. You know, and we had such a great mix of lads. And again, you know, it was all about getting the team spirit and team bonding together. You know, I lads from up Newcastle way, you know, Armstrong, you know, Ibi Hassan, you know, people like, you know, lads who you know, I knew would dig in, and I knew I could give them a week off training and they'd go to the gym and do something and they'd look after themselves. And we managed to go 16 games unbeaten in the back end of the season. But I remember I was still playing myself. So I was trying to manage and play as well at the same time, you know, and I got through that, and then I played a little bit the next season, but I thought I need to manage because I can't do both, you know. Sometimes in games I would think I was taking away from my game because I was trying to manage as well at the same time as play, and I just thought I can't do it. So that's when I started to slide out and obviously become more the manager. But no, we progressed. I mean, we went to FC United, and again, you know, we played them off the park and we beat them, and we got a standard of the FC United fans, you know, and that, you know, that was a great team at the time. You know, FC United, they were fantastic. I think it was Margerson the manager was, and you know, such a great side, such a great fan base, and to get a standing ovation, you know, I said to the lads in the dressing room at the end, I went, you deserve that. I said, you've actually earned that standing ovation. I went, and you should take that on board. You know, and we progressed, like I say, we went 11th, went 9th in the season after. But then, unfortunately, I give a return list to the chairman to keep the players that I wanted to keep. And I went away on holiday, and I come back. And unfortunately, he didn't follow through with the list. And a lot of the lads went to Darren and Spennymoor and places like that.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of it ruined the side. You know, and I was a bit disappointed. And then he couldn't get going. And as much as the time that obviously I left the club, you know, we were still dominating games, but unfortunately, we just couldn't get an end product, you know. And then we were conceding in like the 91st minute or something. Just like, you know, it was crazy because you dominated the game that much, you know. To come away losing 1-0 was just, you know, was mind-boggling. But you know, I loved it. You know, it was. I mean, obviously, I've never managed that, you know, at full-time level, you know, at a pro club, but I see part-time is harder, you know, because you're getting the lads off work, trying to get them motivated. You know, I'm ringing around their works and saying to their manager, can you let him out early because we're playing down at Nantwich on a Tuesday night? You know what I mean? And the lads are jumping in cars and driving down, and it's just like, you know, when you get that and you get lads, you know, they're keen as mustard that they want to do well and they want to play. You know, they want to earn as much as they can at that level, you know, and do as much as they can at that level, and the respect and that I have. Because obviously, you know, getting out of work, you know, some, you know, one lad was a postman. Do you know what I mean? You know, one lad worked at, you know, digging roads up. You know, if that isn't hard work and then going to play a game or train on night,
exactly.
do you know what I mean? It blows your mind. You know, but they did. They've done it. You know, they turned up. They were there. You know, and I had so much respect for all these lads. You know, they're fantastic. You know, I like, this is what I say. You know, I respect anyone, you know, who does that, because it is bloody hard work.
Really good. But it's time to go, Darren. I know you've got a very important meeting. I know we're going to kind of touch on the coaching side.
Yeah,
we just want to say,
also doing to America, so it's it's obviously it's getting the time difference right, and obviously getting people obviously out and that. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Darren.
If you want to pick up any more at a later date, just give us a shout, and obviously I'll be happy to come on.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Darren.
All right, guys.
Thank you
very much.
Chat me.
Right.
Thanks very much, lads. Take care. See you later.
And again, as well, everyone for watching as well. I know we've got a few more coming up over the next few weeks, and we're non-stop at the minute, aren't we, Stephen? If our diaries got a lot booked in, managers, coaches, players, presenters, and a lot. So some exciting times coming up over the next few weeks as well. But again, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night as well.